Hey guys, welcome to the Easy Recaps movie review channel. Today I am going to show you a 2021 animation movie called The Boss Baby: Family Business. Actually, it's a sequel to the previous film, The Boss Baby. Make sure to watch the previous part to understand this one. You can visit my channel and watch the previous part. So without any further ado, let's get started. The movie begins with Tim, showing that he has grown up now. Tim and his wife Carol are playing with their two daughters, Tabitha and Tina. Although Tim has grown so much, but his fantasy and adventurous spirits are still there in his mind. Tim's friend Jumbo has now become the mayor of the city, and all the other teammates of Big Boss are now working for the city police. On the other side, Tim's brother Big Boss Ted has now become the owner of a big financial company. However, one night Tim was telling his daughter Tabitha the story of their childhood, but as Tabitha ignores him, Tim realizes that his daughter has grown up and has no interest in these stories. In fact, from an early age, Tabitha was very intelligent. She always dreamed of being like her uncle after being grown up. However, Tim returns back being sad. He reaches to the storeroom and begins to look at his and Ted's childhood toys. He sees a glimpse of their sweet childhood. But now Ted has become a famous businessman, he always remains busy and doesn't even have time to come home. However, Tim suddenly hears a sound while he was moving his old dolls. When he quietly enters Tina's room, he sees Tina talking at such a young age, just like her brother Boss Baby. After it, whenever Tina comes into her real getup, means with the suit, Tim becomes fainted and falls to the ground. Upon regaining consciousness, Tim comes to know that Tina also has come here on a secret mission from Baby Corporation. Tina says, children's childhood on Earth is in danger, and they need Ted's help regarding this issue. But Tim doesn't agree with Tina. Tim leaves saying that he will not disturb Ted in any way. However, Tina records all the conversations of Tim in a recorder. The next morning, when Tim looks out the window of the house, he sees that Ted has come to his house. As soon as he entered the house, he started shaking Tabitha's hands and feet to see if she was healthy. Tim then understands that someone has copied his voice and sent a voicemail to Ted. Tim realizes it's Tina's job. Tina used his voice to tell Ted that Tabitha had fallen and got injured. That's why Ted has come instantly. Tim then discusses his childhood memories with Ted. But after leaving the Baby Corporation, he forgot all about his childhood memories. He doesn't remember anything now. Then Tina pulls out her magical specifier and gives it to Tim and Ted, and as soon as they put it in their mouth, they become invisible and reach the Baby Corporation. Upon reaching there, Ted remembers everything. Tina then takes them to a special room and starts talking about the mission. Tina says, Armstrong, a teacher at Tabitha's school, has come up with a new theory that will make the babies way more intelligent. Children will no longer need their parents. And it is extremely detrimental to their childhood. Hearing it, Tim realizes that, might be this is the reason that's why the distance between him and his daughter is increasing day by day. However, Tina says, now their mission is to stop Armstrong in any way. Tina added that, the Baby Corporation has developed a special formula that will make Tim and Ted babies for 48 hours. And once they are babies, they can easily keep an eye on Armstrong. Tim and Ted drink that special formula and transform into a baby again. However, even though they are transformed into babies, their intelligence and voice still remain like adults. Later on, we see Carol come back home after shopping. Seeing it, Tim and Ted somehow manage to escape to the upstairs room. After it being hidden, Tim informs Carol that he and Ted are going on a trip. That's when Tina called Ted's pilot and asked him to leave taking the helicopter. Hearing Tim's voice, Carol instantly runs to open the door, but the helicopter flies away. Seeing it, Carol thinks Tim and Ted may have left. At this point, baby Tim and Ted re-enter the room, avoiding Carol's gaze. However, Tina, Tim, and Ted sat down to a meeting at night. Then Tina gives them some important gadgets and tells them to get on the school bus tomorrow morning. At night Tim comes through strange dreams. And it is too late for them to wake up in the morning. As a result, Tim and Ted miss the school bus. Anyway, Ted whistles to his pony and they both decide to go to school riding on that pony. They were on their way to school, vandalizing everything on the street. That's when the police fell behind the two of them. Eventually, they escaped from the police and somehow reached Tabitha's school. Arriving at the school, Tim cleverly sends Ted with the children and leaves for Tabitha's school. On the way out, Tim tells Ted that he will see him at 11:15. As soon as Tim enters the classroom, the kids start bullying him and don't want to give him a seat. But when Tabitha leaves her seat for him, he feels very proud of his daughter. After it, Tim notices that the class was not like any other normal class. Everything there is computerized. Ted, on the other hand, was trapped in a room with babies. He started planning to go out with the babies. On the other side, Tim fails to answer a single question from Armstrong. But Tim's daughter was holding the fast position with the correct answer to all the questions. Ted, on the other hand, tries to get out through the small window above the door with the help of all the kids. He can't succeed even if he gets too close to the window. He falls down from the top. Meanwhile, Ted also plans to go out. He wants to go out in the name of going to the toilet. But all his plans failed because the toilet was inside the classroom. Then Tim enters the toilet and starts thinking, what will he do next? Instantly a plan comes into his mind. He returns to the classroom dressed as a rowdy boy to meet the principal directly. But instead of being sent to the principal's room as punishment for Tim's disrespect, he was sent to a punishment chamber. Ted, on the other hand, sticks glue in his hand and goes straight into the principal's room, through the wall. Ted sees Armstrong in the principal's chair. In fact, Armstrong had been watching Ted with a CCTV camera for so long. Armstrong is very impressed with Ted's intelligence. And because of this, he reveals his real identity to Ted. And the reality is, Armstrong himself is a baby like Ted. Armstrong then informs him that after class he will have a meeting with all the children, where he will tell the children about a plan, so that the children can give an appropriate lesson to the adults. Anyway, Tina can hear some of Armstrong's conversations through the device she has. She comes to know a little bit about the plan of Armstrong. Then when Tim gets out of the class and comes out, he sees Boss Baby playing with the kids there. As soon as he approached him, Ted becomes furious. Ted says he didn't find Tim when he needed him. An argument ensued between Ted and Tim regarding this. Tim gets angry and leaves. As Tim leaves, he sees jealous children in the class taking revenge on Tabitha for extracurricular activities. They ask Tabitha to sing. But Tabitha couldn't do it because she didn't know how to sing. Meanwhile, Tim begins to tell Carol the emotional story of his life, so that Carol becomes emotional and takes him home. Anyway, Carol gets emotional after hearing the emotional story of Tim and brings him to her house. On the other side, Ted stays at school for the meeting. At this point, some ninja baby attacks him. Ted keeps running away from them. At that moment, Armstrong retrieves his car and rescues Ted from the ninja babies. Armstrong then takes him to his secret room, to show him how he uses the kids to do business. In fact, Armstrong uses these kids to create some apps that were very popular. He says, this time he is going to create another app that will be much more effective than all the previous apps. In fact, Armstrong's greed for power was greater than money. He wants to gain power at any cost. Meanwhile, when Tim arrives home alone, Tina gets very angry with him, because he had left Ted at school and returned home alone. Tim then informs her that Ted has quarreled with him and chased him away. Tim then goes to Tabitha and asks her why she wants to participate in the music competition when she was not comfortable with the music. Then Tabitha says that she is participating in that music competition to make her father feel proud. Because his dad Tim likes all of this a lot. Tim becomes very surprised to hear this, because he used to think that Tabitha ignores him, and his thoughts are of no value. But he was completely wrong. In the midst of all this, Tim's parents arrived there, which means Tabitha's grandparents arrived there. Although they could not recognize Tim because of the glasses, the arrow of suspicion of Tim's mother doesn't move at all from him. On the other side, Armstrong tells all the children in his meeting that his parents were child psychologists by profession. But he thinks he is smarter and more intelligent than his parents. So he ran away, leaving his parents behind. Armstrong says, "Everything will change soon, and all children will be freed from their parents. They can do whatever they want and there will be no one to stop them." Here the scene shifts and we are shown Tim again. He realizes that not only his daughter but also his parents still think that he is still living in his imaginary world. Meanwhile, Ted arrives home with his pony. At that moment, Tabitha's grandfather says how much Tim loves and cares for his little brother Ted. Her grandfather also says, they can do everything for each other. Tim and Ted both get a lot more emotional hearing it. Anyway, after dinner, Tabitha takes Tim to her room, where Tim teaches her daughter to sing. Then he said goodbye to everyone and left. As he leaves, he sees his daughter, Tabitha, sitting by the window, trying to sing. He becomes very happy to see it. Meanwhile, Tina tells Ted to finish the mission quickly with Tim's help. However, Ted shows his attitude and says, he can complete the mission without Tim's help. In fact, the misunderstanding between Tim and Ted has caused some distance between them. While they both were talking, Tim comes there. Tina eventually clears up all misunderstandings between the two of them. The relationship between them becomes normal again. Ted then tells Tim about all of Armstrong's plans. And tell Tina to get help from the Baby Corporation. But they were told by the Baby Corporation that they don't have enough evidence against Armstrong. So Baby Corporation will not help them in this matter. They have to find a solution to this problem by themselves. That's why they started planning how to stop Angstrom. This time Ted decides to take help of the school babies in this matter. After it, they reveal their plan. According to their plan, Tim will monitor everyone from backstage. Ted would quietly set up a device in the back of Armstrong's suit. And Tina will use that device to control Armstrong's suit from the audience's cue. Finally, that important moment comes and they were carefully prepared in their respective positions. But as soon as Ted goes to Armstrong, he realizes that his plan is completely different. He has already installed his app on all of the parents' phones. Whenever, being excited, parents will try to take pictures of their children, they will be hypnotized. Ted immediately informs Tina about Armstrong's plan. He says, the show should be stopped in any way, so that parents do not get a chance to use the app. Tina sees with her device that there is a switch on the backstage through which it is possible to turn off the show by turning off the electricity. She tries to contact Tim. But Tim's communication device fell out of his ear. He has completely forgotten his mission. And he gets up on stage to perform with Tabitha. Tim congratulates Tabitha for the performance. Tabitha says, she really wants to see what her father's face would look like when she will perform. Hearing this, Tim becomes a bit emotional. Meanwhile, when Ted manages to get to the backstage, the babies do not let him go and take him straight to the stage to perform. Anyway, after it, Ted somehow gets to that switch to turn it off. But Tim does not allow him to turn off the switch. Because, this is the first time that her daughter Tabitha is going to do something for him. And he is much more excited to see her performance. However, Ted finally switches it off. But then the two of them realize that it was just a trap. As soon as they turn the switch off, Armstrong and his ninja babies move in. Armstrong takes the two of them and locks them in that punishment chamber. After it, when Tim starts to tell Ted about his own mistakes, Ted says it isn't his fault. He actually showed the behavior of a perfect father. Then the two of them fix all the misunderstandings between themselves, and try to get out of this punishment chamber together. Meanwhile, Tabitha surprises everyone with excellent performance. But even after giving such an excellent performance, no one claps for her. All the audience was sitting quietly. Tabitha is very surprised to see that no one is cheering for her. Tabitha looks at her father's seat and becomes upset not to see her father there. Tabitha leaves while crying. Then Armstrong comes on stage with all the hypnotized parents. He starts to drive them as his wish, and makes all of them dance with him. Meanwhile, not finding Tim and Ted anywhere, Tina goes to Tabitha. Here she admits that she is also a special baby, which means boss baby. After hearing this, Tabitha realizes that all the stories her father used to tell her were true. Tina then tells Tabitha all of Armstrong's plans and asks her to help. The two of them then start looking for the server that is used to control the whole system. They finally find it. Tim and Ted, on the other hand, were drowning in the punishment chamber. That's when Ted remembers his pony and he whistles and calls it. Hearing the whistle, his pony rushed there and brought the two of them out of the punishment chamber. Tim and Ted arrive at the server room riding on that pony. But Armstrong also gets there and catches the two of them with his glue candy. However, Tina and Tabitha arrive there. Tina is now wearing Armstrong's mechanical suit. She is terrified when she sees her father Tim as a baby. Armstrong then orders all the hypnotized parents to chase them. On the other side, Tina tries to reach the server point with Tabitha. Tim and Ted try to stop Armstrong at this point. But Armstrong traps the two of them together with his glue candy, and starts chasing Tina and Tabitha. Here, Tina fights with Armstrong. On the other hand, Tabitha tries to normalize all the hypnotized parents. He made everyone almost normal, but then Armstrong suddenly breaks the whole system. Finding no other way, Tabitha tells Tim to press the fire alarm, so that everything can be ruined with water. But the parents held them in such a way that they could not even move. Luckily, the effect of the special formula made by Baby Corporation begins to end, and Ted suddenly grows up again. He begins to control all the parents. At this point, Tim pressed the fire alarm. But nothing happens. Just then Tabitha remembers the artificial volcano made by her father. They destroyed the entire server room by making artificial volcanoes with mint and cold drinks. Tabitha, on the other hand, was about to fall from a high place. She started screaming for help. Now here comes a perfect entry of Tim. He returns to his normal condition at the right time and catches Tabitha. Armstrong, at this point, seeing such a happy family, realizes all of his mistakes. He understands the importance of family and parents in a baby's life. After it, all the kids run to their parents, everything becomes normal again, and all of them were happy. In the very last scene of the movie, we see Tabitha singing to her family on a Christmas day. They all were enjoying much more. But they were missing Ted terribly. Just then the doorbell rings. Tim runs and opens the door. He sees many gifts lying in front of the door. There was a letter also with the gifts. The letter says, "I'm sorry I couldn't stay with you again." But at the very bottom, there was written, "Duck," on it. That's when a snowball hits Tim. In fact, Ted was there, and he did it just to have fun with Tim. Everyone in the family becomes happy to see Ted. Finally, Tim and Ted start playing in the snow again just like they used to play in their childhood. And with it, this beautiful movie ends. Thanks for watching.